You've learned a lot in life, and your passion is public speaking, whether it's on a stage, online, voiceovers, a podcast, a trainer, and you've been looking for info on how to take it to the next level. This is Speaker Show and Tell. We're a weekly show that features interviews with successful speakers and experts, and you'll get tips, tricks, and strategies to improve your speaking skills and the business of speaking. You'll get actionable advice you can use right now, and you'll get inspiration from pros who've done it. Pros that have gone through the struggles just like you and created massive results. Let's do this. Welcome to Speaker Show and Tell.
Sabrina Gibson with your Speaker Show and Tell. I can't even talk. I'm so excited. There's so many things going on today. But we have a lot of change happening. And, change is really good because it gives you an opportunity to really look at what's working, what could be better, how to just make an impact. And that's really what the focus of this podcast is to make sure that you as a speaker are getting supported in the best possible way. So I'm really excited. Eric Lofholm was my co-host here, and he did such an amazing job. It's so much fun with him. And his business just took off. Of course, he is like the next Zig Ziglar in the speaking realm. And if you don't know Zig Ziglar, he's an amazing sales trainer and completely amazing mentor. And that's really the role that Eric takes on. So his business just took off so much that it was harder and harder for him to coordinate times for us to do the show. So I just want to thank him. He is absolutely amazing. Be sure to go look for him, check him out. He is an incredible resource if you're looking to increase your sales in your business and really understand how to take all those referrals and leads that are coming into your business and what to do with them, how to speak to them in a way that actually converts them into clients. So Eric Lofholm, go check him out. So with that being said, I found another amazing co-host. And this guy is so amazing. In fact, we had him on as a guest, and I was so impressed with him. And we just started talking, and he's just incredible. So I'm so excited to have Sean Douglas with us, my new co-host. Yay!
Hi.
So excited to have you here.
Super excited.
Yeah. Well, I've been having a ball with you, as you know. I just appreciate just your genius. I mean, we got to talking, and it was really funny. He didn't even know that I was looking for a co-host, and we were just talking about the show. And I was asking him, because that's what you do, right? That's what you actually do, is help podcasters, and explain a little bit about what you do with the podcast shows.
Yeah. So what we do is basically create, launch, and monetize podcasts, books, speakers, businesses, online and offline, coaching programs, product services. We basically create it, or we take your existing show or book or business or whatever, and through a business discipline called category design, made famous by my buddy Christopher Lockhead, we basically redesign the category that you're in and reposition it in the marketplace so that you thrive. Instead of being a motivational speaker, you could be not a sales trainer or just another business speaker. You could be whatever it is, the category that you're going to be in. Like, instead of a sales trainer or just a motivational speaker, you could be like me, like a business positioning strategist, or you could be a master finance, speaker, whatever problem you solve should always be in the title of what you do. And so we take the show, we look at it, we reposition it, recategorize it, and then we figure out ways to monetize that content.
That's so cool. Well, and what really actually was funny is we had you on as a guest. I had you on as a guest to talk about TEDx, because that's a hot topic. And I love the fact, because I said, well, what makes you different than any other person saying that they can get you on TEDx? And you go, we guarantee it. And I'm like, okay, that's so cool. I just love those. I've always guaranteed everything that I've done in my business. Yep. And I love the fact that you do that too. So here's the cool thing. So we've been listening to the audience, we've been listening to the speakers, we've been asking lots of questions to see how do we make the show better? Because really at the end of the day, our whole mission and vision was to make a difference for speakers in a way that actually grew their business. And we got a lot of really great feedback. And so I was sharing that with Sean. And then you came up with this genius idea that I was like, right? Because I would have never thought of it. And I want you to share it because I thought it was so good. What's your idea on how to really make a difference for these speakers out there?
Yeah. So here's what we're going to do. So looks like Dean Hankey's joining us. What up, Dean? I've known Dean for quite a while. He's pretty awesome there. Amazing speaker.
I love Dean. Nice to
Yeah,
see you, Dean.
yeah. So Dean's awesome. So what we're going to do is we're literally going to take the speaker show and tell and make it the speaker show and tell. What that means for you is you have an opportunity to not just be a guest on the show, but the whole purpose of this show and this community, the speaker show and tell community, if you're not on the speaker show and tell Facebook group, if you're not in that community, look up Facebook, speaker show and tell community. And what we're going to do is we're going to have you as a guest on the show. So you have to apply, and we're going to coach speakers live. Like, what is your biggest setback? What is your biggest hang up? Where are you not speaking? Where should you be speaking? And so what's going to happen is we're going to rip apart everything you're doing, analyze it, take a deep dive, and literally live show you the next steps on how to build and grow a profitable speaker business so that you get booked and paid to speak consistently. If you want to be a guest on a TEDx, bring your questions about TEDx. We'll walk you through the process. You want to launch a podcast? You think that your book is the next step in your speaker evolution? You think that maybe you're talking about the wrong topics, maybe your positioning, maybe your messaging isn't succinct? Sabrina and I will take a look at everything you're doing, and we will coach you through the process of whatever those next steps are live on the show. So if you want coaching, come on the show, be a guest. It'll be about a 35 minute show. So we got to be real quick about the questions, but I am super pumped to give that opportunity to coach speakers live for the audience to hear some of the feedback and some of the tips that we could talk about all kinds of stuff all day long, but maybe it's not what the audience wanted at that moment. Maybe it's not what they were looking for, but we have a guest on the show and we coach them. We may string a chord with somebody and go, oh, I would have never thought of that. And then now we're helping way more people.
Yeah, I can't even tell you, I'm so excited about this because, at the end of the day, it's like speakers want to know, like, yes, that's what I want to do. But when we can speak to like a very specific step-by-step and get them, and so that everyone gets to have that information, then, I think it makes it that much better. So thank you. Oh my gosh, that was like an eye opener. And I really think that that's also the way that the community works too, is that it's really about us synergistically working together to help grow each other's business, because I would have never thought of that idea without you, Sean. And that'll make it a substantially different and better show, in my opinion. And
Absolutely.
It'll help a lot more people the way that's really what our intention was to start off. Yep. We just kind of were, a little bit, we just needed to fine tune it a little bit. And I think that's with any business. Like, we just need to fine tune, it's the blind spots that will sometimes keep us from growing. And I think this is like a huge opportunity for speakers to be able to grow their business so much faster.
100%. And what's great about this is we've compiled our resources together. And so we brought you even more value as you get coached, as you go through the speaker community. We're going to be throwing out resources, some articles, links. Everything that we've compiled is going to be available in some form or fashion. And I'm excited to see what people do with these resources to level up in their speaking business.
I love that. Yeah, and even just you and I, like, I wish we could have recorded that conversation because
Oh yeah.
there is definitely some overlap, but man, there's so many pieces that you have that I don't do, and vice versa. And it's like it's just fun to put all of our tools and our knowledge and everything in together, and then be able to coach people through that process. So it'll be really super fun. I can't wait.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah,
great.
I'm really excited. Well, let's talk about this a little bit. I want to ask you a question because we are going to be coaching speakers at any level. So let's talk about that beginning speaker. What do you think like would be the biggest challenge that like maybe a beginning speaker would like to be coached on?
Yeah, the biggest problem that beginning speakers have is they say, "Put me in front of an audience and I can speak." You can't. It's just not how it works. If you speak to everyone, you'll hit no one. And so they have got to use category design and niche down to the smallest possible audience that they can. You can never niche down too far, but you have to be known for something. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm a speaker," because the next question people ask is, "Well, what do you speak about?" So when I say I'm a resilience trainer, TEDx coach, business positioning strategist, and leadership trainer, they absolutely know exactly what I talk about. I didn't talk about social media. I didn't talk about Facebook. I didn't talk about finance or life coaching or therapy, CBD. I didn't talk about anything else but being a resilience trainer, TEDx coach, business positioning strategist, and a leadership trainer. When I say those topics and what I do, train, speak, coach, whatever, that is exactly what I do, and it leaves no doubt.
I
So
love
that's
that.
the biggest part that new speakers miss is they say, "Well, I'm a speaker." Like, what kind of speaker? Or what do you speak about? Or right. But if you give those topics and what you do with those topics to an event planner, to the audience, whatever, they're like, "Oh, leadership. Oh, I know somebody looking for a leadership trainer. Oh, I know somebody that talks about e-com or needs, there's an e-com event coming up. Oh my gosh, I know that they would be a good fit for that." And so referrals also come along with having the names and titles and your messaging very succinct.
I love this. Even in business, this is a great suggestion because people just go too wide. I know I used to have when I first started, I had a marketing agency. We did everything. I mean, everything from logos to you name it, right? And when I went back to go look at my business, I noticed the referrals that were coming in were websites. And I thought, wow, I wonder if we went like as a web development company with a marketing emphasis, what would happen? Well, our business blew up. I mean, my business literally did. We almost 3 times our highest revenue
Yeah.
by just being very, very niche. And we were websites that had a marketing emphasis. So we actually solved the problem for marketing with websites. Well, of course, my speaking took off as well with that. I mean, my speaking engagements I couldn't stop getting speaking engagements because everybody wanted to know how to turn their website into a marketing machine. And when
Yep.
that's one of the things I talked about the biggest mistakes people made with their websites. And even though there were a lot of web developers out there, no one was speaking on it. And so I was getting booked in every single speaking engagement you can imagine just for that. Then when I started speaking about membership websites, that was like another whole niche that at the time nobody was really speaking. I was a little way ahead of the game in that respect. But I think you're right. It's like when people start to niche down and be so specific, and I think everyone's afraid to do it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's kind of like I always use this analogy with like there's a reason why restaurants and bars do ladies' night, right? Ladies get to come in for free because where the women go, man, the men will follow. And it's like the
Yes.
same thing in business. It's like when we niche down, when we get really niche in our business, what happens is you may only sell like I just saw a guy years ago. I saw this guy speaking about this, and I thought it was so genius. He had 3 different clients that sold bathing suits, and you would think, oh, bathing suits, right? He had like a gal that sold to Muslim women, which I thought was really interesting because they have to be fully covered.
Yep.
And so like they had very specific suits, right? Then he had another client that sold to volleyball players because when you're playing volleyball and stuff, you need to have the right suit that stays with you for women.
Correct.
And it was very niche, right? But guess what? They ended up selling, like the Muslim one ended up selling to people who had skin conditions that couldn't be out in the sun.
Yep.
And so they increased their business like crazy. And he used the example of car dealerships. So like, you think about Volvo. Like when we think about Volvo, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Volvo?
They're expensive to fix, they're expensive to buy,
Oh,
and they're European.
okay. Well, for me, when I had when my daughter was born, I was like, man, I need a safe car, right? I think
Oh
Volvo,
yeah,
like
yeah, they're safe.
instantly thought of Volvo, right? And I bought a Volvo because of that reason. And anyway, the point is that Volvo really does not do very much advertising. If you
Right.
look at them, hardly any, right? Nissan, on the other hand, what does Nissan stand for?
Oh man, I had a Nissan.
Oh yeah, but
Never again.
nothing comes to mind. Like most, no, like Stephen Dean said, Volvo stays safety first for sure. But when you think of Nissan, it's like, what do you think of? They spend millions upon millions upon millions of dollars on advertising, and Volvo's budget is like a tenth of that, right?
Right.
And the reason being is that they built a brand based on a niche. They wanted to go after safety. So every single, like me, I'm like, as soon as I had my daughter, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get a Volvo.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, right? I mean, that's just like, it was a great selling, it's a selling thing. And that's really, I think, what speakers can do too, is that they can build that brand and that what they're known for, like what you were saying, to be known for.
Yep.
So as we get going to speaking, the next level is now you've got some speaking under your belt, and maybe you're looking to be paid. What do you think the next challenge is for them?
Yeah, some new speakers kind of stumble upon a paid gig, or they say, "Oh, I can speak to that," because they're looking for the gigs. Like, "Oh, I can." Oh, resilience. Like I can speak to that. Let me message them. Okay, hey, I can speak about resilience, and here's what I would speak about. And somebody goes, "Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds good. What's your fee?" And they go, "Oh no, um, like a couple, like $500 or um 1,000 maybe." Yeah, I'm not. Well, what's your budget and how much would you pay me? And like, they just go back. They don't know how to handle the conversation.
It's so
So
true.
you have to decide that first. So if you're a brand new speaker, brand new, not a whole lot of speaking, just getting positioned, I'd say comfortably, you could do anywhere between 1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000, and somebody could comfortably pay for that, right? But you have to look like a $10,000 speaker to get a $10,000 offer to come speak somewhere. But then you got to think about, well, do schools have a $10,000 budget? Absolutely not. Do associations have a $10,000 budget? Absolutely not. So now you have to figure out where the money's at. So not only are you trying to figure out who's going to pay you, you got to figure out where the budget is even at. I've been to events where they're like, yeah, we don't really pay over like 7,000. I'm like, well, lucky for you, my speaker fee is 5,500. And they're like, oh, okay, well under budget. I'm like, absolutely. Or I've said like locally, I said, hey, this is my normal speaker fee, but I definitely lower it for local places. So, I'd be comfortable at 3,500. And they're like, yeah, we don't really have a budget for 3,500. I'm like, well, what could you do? Like, well, we don't. I had one person like, well, we paid $2,000 to our last speaker. I'm like, it's an all day event. Yep. All day. Well, why not do a VIP lunch? Why not do a VIP lunch where people pay more money to go to the conference and they get to sit with me during the lunch and maybe one or two other people, whatever. And we'll do like a lunch panel only for those people that want to do it. And if I'm the opening keynote, I'll remind them, hey, if you didn't sign up for the VIP lunch, you might want to get on that because we're going to close it in the next 10 minutes. Like we're done. So anybody, because we have to get the food, And so if people are like, I don't know, and do I really want to sit with this guy? Like, who is this guy? And then I go up and speak and they're like, holy crap. Now they're like, oh, I want to go do this, because now they've
Yeah.
experienced it.
I love
Right?
the fact that you just created money for them. Like you just
Yeah.
showed them how to come up with the money to pay
Yep.
you. And I think that's what people are, I think a lot of speakers don't realize, or they're too afraid to ask, or anyway, that I love this. This is amazing. Dean was saying that he felt like the number one challenge for aspiring and emerging speakers is being bookable, having a clear, concise, and compelling focus, serving one problem for one
Yep.
audience and being the bookable expert.
Yep.
And I love
That's
that.
so true. So
Yeah,
true.
it's so true. That's so good. And Justine's here too as well. Nice to see you. It's another great person that's given fabulous feedback for the show. Really appreciate you being here. So, and as you in the chat, feel free to like type us like what
Yeah.
kind of questions do you think that you'd like to see on the show? Maybe we can even look for guests, or if you'd like to be on the show to talk about those problems, let us know about that too. So maybe we can have Dean on the show one time and he can help us coach some of
Right.
the people on the. I love Dean. He's awesome. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, so I mean, those are like real challenges. I mean, I know for me, it was really hard to go from free to paid, even though I was getting paid from free speaking engagements.
Sure.
Sometimes it's hard just to shift because you think, well, what do I need? And like you said, it's like if you want a $10,000 speaking engagement, you better look like a $10,000 speaker. And
Yep.
there's pieces that you need for each of those. And a lot of it's just not even knowing what to charge. I mean, you and I were talking about this. I landed a paid speaking engagement and I had no idea what the budget is. Unfortunately, I came from sales because I highballed it. I said, well,
Yep.
normally my speaking fee is, I think I said $10,000, which I'd never gotten, by the way. I'd never been paid. And they were saying, and I said, but I go, I love your organization and I'm willing to work with you. And so when, like they could pay me $3,500, well, I would have never even asked for $3,500 because I didn't know what they were paying, but they ended up
Right.
throwing in like travel for my husband. And,
Yep.
they threw in all this extra stuff for me that, and there's a lot of things you can negotiate as well when,
Oh yeah.
if they, yeah. I loved it. And then I used that to go and get more free speaking engagements. I said, hey, I normally charge $5,000. I'd like to give back to my community, be more than happy to speak at your organization for free. Here's some of the organizations I spoke at. That was another way that I could just leverage. I think that's the other thing too. Like, I know I hear that a lot is, or I don't even hear it. And that's what makes me worried because I know I learned the hard way, right? Speakers don't know how to leverage things. You and I were talking about TEDx.
Yeah.
And I said, man, I wish every speaker would understand how much leverage you have when you become a TEDx speaker, right? Because it is like, it's like golden,
Oh
right?
yeah.
There's just so many opportunities to really grow your business, especially from the speaking realm.
Mhm.
So I think that's another question too that people have. So Dean has more. So let's talk about the like the experienced professional speaker. Someone who's maybe been doing a lot of paid speaking. What kind of challenges do you think they have, Sean and Dean and
Well,
Justine?
they
What do
hit
you
a
feel like?
plateau.
Yeah.
They plateau. They're like, man, I can't get over that 5,000. Like, what is going on? And they're doing 5,000s and 5,000s is five. Let me get 7. Let me get 7,500. Let me, you know, and what's great is, they're booked consistently, whether by themselves or maybe referrals, but they're not getting into that 10, 20,000. But the reason for that is they may not be shifting focus. They think that the same events are just going to keep paying and whatever. And most of the time, you speak at an event one year, you probably won't even be invited back for another 2, 3, or 5 years. So you speak at this one event, it's literally a one-off event. They're not
That's
going to have you back
interesting.
for their annual conference every single year because they want to freshen up the lineup. They don't want the same speakers. I did get booked, so I got a standing ovation. I talked to the School Nutrition Association in South Carolina. Standing ovation. People went wild. They were like, oh my gosh. And then they have feedback forms and stuff. They're like, best speaker we've ever seen here. Like, oh my gosh, best speaker. And they literally called me a couple of days later after the conference. They're like, the feedback was amazing. Would you want to be booked for next year? Let's just book you now. I'm like,
Wow.
absolutely. Do you want me to open or close? They're like, we want you to open. Oh my gosh, the energy was off the chain. And then the following year, I went back and they're like, please welcome back to the stage. She was here last year. And they immediately started clapping. They were like, oh my God. And
Wow.
like, they knew who I was. And like, I came from the back of the room this time and I was like high-fiving people from the back. I had my microphone on. I was like, let's go, and everyone turned around. They were like looking around. Like, it was amazing. I changed it up. I didn't just do what I always do and walk on stage. Like, I was in the back of the room and I started my talk in the back of the room. And they were like, oh, I was like, what's up? And I was like high-fiving. We had music playing. It was like a Tony Robbins-esque event,
I
And
love it.
people were like, holy crap, like, this is so cool. but it's so different, so
Yeah.
you got to do things differently. If you've been speaking for a couple of years at 5,500, 6,500, you just can't get there. You just can't get there. Just can't get there. Like, don't just raise the prices. Like, do something different, open differently, speak differently, find a different type of audience, find a different type of event, go to more corporate events rather than just associations, like mix it up,
Yeah, I
So
love that. It's so true because, a friend of mine, Henry DeVries, it was funny. I learned a lot from him. He was really funny, and he said, it's like that. Like, he said, my wife and I went to this concert, and the guy plays a song, and then he plays the next song, and it was like, wait a minute, that song just sounded like the first song. And then the guy came out and he goes, I only have one song. Right. And so the point is like, as speakers, we shouldn't just have one song. We should
right.
have multiple songs. And even like, I spoke about websites forever, but man, I had probably 20 different ways I could approach it
Yep.
and talk and to dissect it. I mean, and we even did a like, hey, why don't you just have 3 of your members give me their website? And if they're open to it, we'll gently coach them about their website, and it was great. I mean, they loved it. I mean, that was like something I'd never done before, but I
Yep.
got booked over and over again every year at the same places and those were free. But, for paid, it's like you just change the message up. They love you. They
Yep.
already know that you're a quality speaker. I love this. This is genius.
Yep.
So, I wanted to go and like just kind of like we're getting all these beautiful comments. I want to make sure I incorporate them. Justine was saying that's true. You get it once and most likely not anymore in the next events unless you did it really, really well. Yeah, that's so true. It is true. And I think that like what Sean is saying is you just shake it up. You say, hey, I love to do that. Why don't I come back and speak about this? Like if you love that piece, like maybe what did you speak on initially with the nutritionists? Do you remember?
Yeah, I spoke on resilience, and specifically I spoke on gratitude, and then I spoke on core values, and then I spoke on impact. So those were my 3 topics that I spoke on in my talk.
Wow, that's cool. So you could even take that whole resilience thing and shake it up and
Yep.
speak about maybe, like I talk about the 10 things every business owner already knows but isn't doing. And a lot of times I'll only speak about one thing. And so, there's 9 other things I could come back and speak on. And they're very like different than most business. I mean, all the business owners know it. They're not doing it.
Right.
I guarantee it. So, and one of them is talking about having a niche. I mean, which goes back to our original conversation about you've got to be so specific. And what's nice about being so specific is that now you can have a lot of little tiny specific topics that you speak on under the same whatever it's a resilience or, leadership or whatever it happens to be. It's like, that's really cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know about you, Sean, but I'm pretty excited to get that first speaker.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Yeah, if you guys are listening and you really, really want to like be on the show, just shoot a little message out to us. We'd love to have you on the show. We're going to have lots of different speakers at different levels, everything from the speaker just starting, someone who's like got some experience under their belt,
Yep.
and then someone who's just like Sean was saying, like hit a plateau. They need to take it to the next level or shake things up and have a different perspective. So it'll be really, really fun. I used to, with Eric, I used to say he was a little bit country and I was a little bit of rock and roll, but I think you're a little bit rock and roll. I'm a little bit of country now. So it'll be really fun to come. Maybe I'll even sing. Cheryl Rausch was really funny. She said, when you speak in front of an audience, she always tries to do a little bit of singing. And I'm like, oh, I'm a terrible singer, but I love to sing,
Right.
like in a shower, in the car, man. I think, wow, I could totally be on American Idol, I had aged out a long time ago, but
That's
like,
funny.
I would have loved to do it.
Yeah,
but anyway.
I'm excited to have some speakers on the show that are. I'm like, all right, what's going on? Like tell us about your speaker business and how many speaking engagements do you have? What's your fee? What do you speak about? And I'm listening for these things where people are like, well, my fee varies, and your fee should never vary. Like you have one fee, and it's up to you if you want to negotiate. So there was another event where I was speaking in Charleston, South Carolina, and I was speaking to the Professional Procedures Association. And what they do is they write professional procedures for like nuclear power plants. And like they write the procedures of like all different things, but this is what they do, right? And I said, hey, my speaker fee is $5,500, and they're like, ooh, it's kind of outside of our budget. I'm like, all right, well, what's your budget? They said it's $3,500. Like, okay, that's not too bad. So what about this? So what would I do? Would I be the opener, or well, you would go on? Well, our association president directors like always talk first, but then you can go on after that. I'm like, cool. What about if I did a breakout session after lunch? Right after lunch, you go into breakout sessions, right? They're like, yeah. I was like, well, what if I stayed and I just did a breakout session right after lunch, and then they can come into the breakout and, we can do some one-on-ones and some group coaching and some other stuff, And they said, oh, that'd be great. I'm like, yeah. So let's just do 4,500. We'll split it down the middle, 4,500. I'll stay all day for that breakout. And then I'll leave, like after that or whatever. So we'll do the keynote, I'll hang around, then we'll do lunch, then we'll do the breakout right after that. And she's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then paid me $4,500.
Wow.
So the budget was $3,500, but she goes, yeah, that sounds great. And then just paid, you know what I mean? So it's all about delivering value. If they don't think that you're a $5,500 speaker, you're not going to get it. If they think, well, we only need a keynote and this is what we value, because the event planners, the event directors, the association president, association directors, executive directors, they all know this is what our keynotes are worth. But if you say, well, what if you bought 100 copies of my book at $10 a piece?
Yes,
because some schools have what's called an appropriations budget. And so they can tap into that appropriations budget because they're buying materials.
Oh, so wait, Sean, but that means that you have to have a book.
Oh, is that the next step in the evolution of speakers? Who knows? But that book is not something that you get rich off of like in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. That book is a calling card now. It's a giveaway. It's what some people call it in business. It's a loss leader. You lead with
leverage. I call it leverage.
Yeah.
You have a book, you got leverage. You can get onto you can be interviewed on TV shows, you can get on podcasts, you can, and the cool thing is, it's like, for me at least, I don't know about you, but when I wrote a book, it's like, it just got my thoughts really organized. And then sometimes I was like, and someone called me and said, hey, I'd love to have you come speak to our group. I'm like, what am I going to speak to them about? Because I'd never spoken before. Right. And I'm like, duh, I wrote a book. I just pulled one of the topics out of the book. And then I was like, hey, I think I'll just try this on, or actually at the time I picked 3 of the topics out of the book and just.
You should always have 3 to 5, not any less, not any more. Always have 3, never even numbers, always 3 or always 5.
Yeah. Dean, what do you think about books? I know you've got books. So what do you think about books? What do you think the value is there? He said, yep, well, not about the book, but he said, yep, creative support for sure. The point is to help them get what they need in kind, value, intentional endorsements and referrals, video, program, product sales. Oh yeah. When the speaking engagement, it's like when you become the meeting planner's friend and you try to do whatever you can to make their event amazing and stand out, because they're afraid of people like saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you had that speaker or whatever they do. I'm not sure that that's their voice, but that's what people do. They complain. And then the meeting planner is the one that gets the brunt of it, right? Like we always try to make sure the meeting planner feels so safe and, valued because we showed up. And really, I mean, with an event, anything can go wrong. I don't know about you, but I've always stuck from beginning to the end of an event, even though I might have only spoken for an hour and it's a 9-hour event, unless I've had something else going on. But, and let them know, like, hey, I'm here. So if you need to, I can, jump in again. I
was going to say the same thing. Yep. Yeah. You let the event planner know, even if you're not speaking, you find whoever is hosting it, you find the event planner. I do this every event I go to. If I'm at a conference, I'm like, oh, I want to go to this thing. And so I find the host, I find whoever's running the thing. And I say, hey, can I talk to you for a second? So, hey, I'm a professional speaker. And although I'm not speaking here, if someone doesn't show up or something happens, or you need to rearrange a schedule, whatever it is, please let me know, because I ran an events company before, putting on conferences and events and everything. And I'm a professional speaker, so I can jump right up and follow whoever was that last speaker and really play off of them and really have fun with the audience. And they'd never know. So I actually, that happened to me one time where I said that and they were like, oh my God, thank you. And they all, okay, thank you. I'm like, really? Like, I'm serious. Like, if you need me, like, I'm here. I could be like a reserve speaker, like somebody didn't show or somebody gets sick or, you got technical difficulties or something happens. Like, I'm here. Put me on stage, put me wherever you need me. I can volunteer to help out wherever. Well, I was sitting in the audience, people tapped on me like, hey, back here. I'm like, okay. Like, hey, the speaker can't make it. I need you to go. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go up on stage. So I was like, hey, just announce the speaker. They're like, you? I'm like, no. Announce the speaker. They're like, okay. So because everybody has a book, like everybody has like the program or whatever, right? So you know who the next speaker is or whatever, because everybody has an agenda. So they're like, all right, our next speaker on the calendar, like on the agenda. And I wrote like this whole thing, like real quick, like for everything, for that person to say, Steve, somebody, whatever, I go up on stage and I'm like, hi. Okay, look, I'm not Steve. Steve couldn't be here. He had a family thing come up. There was something going on. And so I'm going to be the speaker. And what I'm going to talk to you about is this. And then I introduced myself real quick. Hi, my name is Sean Douglas, and I'm a TEDx speaker. Here's what I want to speak to you about. Bam. And I just went into it. And I was like, and then at the end, I was like, I want to thank the event planner. Let's everybody thank the event planner. I want to thank Steve. Thank you, Steve. And everybody's like, wait, right? And I just kind of went through it. I was like, thank you, Steve. And it was like, and so I reminded them again, like he was supposed to be here, but he's not. So like, it's like a top of mind thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're what? Oh, I wonder where he's at. And then it gets people like, is he okay? Like, is everything?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it gets people, because when you pique people's curiosity, right, they get more interested.
That's interesting.
So if I said something like, you would not believe what happened to Steve and why he can't be here. Oh my gosh. So let's just get into our talk. People are like, what the hell happened? You know what I mean? So it's like you're playing with the audience a little bit, So
that's awesome. I totally love that. Yeah. Well, we're gonna have fun. I'm super excited. I love the fact that we had Dean like as a
right
guest speaker really for us.
As a virtual panelist.
I know. You can't see Dean, but he is here, man. I love it. And Justine, thank you so much, man.
Yes.
I'm so excited you're here as well. So it's been really fun, and please tell everybody we'd love to have you back. And Dean, let's definitely talk about having you on as maybe a guest panelist, coach, speaker, whatever. I don't know. We'll have to come up with a groovy title for that.
Yeah.
But it'd be kind of fun to have you in there. I know you're a wealth of knowledge as well. So
yeah.
I am so stoked, Sean. Like, this is like the coolest ever. Yep. I'm really excited. Thank you. I really want to just thank you because you are we need to start recording our conversations offline because I was laughing. I warned Sean, I said, I have total ADD. So, I mean, he's already experienced it where I'm like, and I told him, I said, there's a squirrel that shows up in my backyard. Like legit, like I live in Arizona and there's a squirrel, like a real squirrel in my backyard, which I'm like, how is that even possible? But anyway, I always say squirrel because I get ADD, but we had like, I felt like we solved like half of the world problems, like in
right.
conversation, at least for speakers, right?
Right. So if anybody wants to be a guest on the show to get coached, all you need to do is go to the website, speakershowandtell.com, click get involved, and we'll schedule an appearance on the show and make sure you bring your questions. Also, if you're not part of the Speaker Show and Tell community Facebook group, go there right now, join the group, and then start loading in your questions. Hey, I'm speaking here. Or what I'd love to see the group turn into really as like an added bonus is, hey, I know someone looking for a resilient speaker. Who in the group speaks on that?
Love it.
And then we can start sharing referrals. So I really want to make this group as valuable for your time as possible. And so we want to grow this thing. I think we can get this thing in a year to 10K people community, 10,000 speakers inside of this thing, sharing resources, not like links to your books. And we're not doing none of that. What we're doing is giving value first, because if you want links to books and all that other stuff, you can go to the NSA speaker Facebook group. You can go to like all these other, promotion, whatevers. Like, we want to build the Speaker Show and Tell community to where we're doing nothing but giving value and building each other up, because the famous Jim Rohn saying, a rising tide lifts all ships. And so you never know when a referral is going to come around. You never know when someone of value is going to pop into the group and go, hey, not sure if anybody ran into this, but they couldn't pay my budget, or they couldn't pay my speaker fee out of their budget, but I offered them this and I actually made more money. So, try it and see what happens, and, give me the results, so man, that'd be something cool. I'd also like to introduce like a weekly challenge. Like, where are you speaking at this week? Who is not speaking this week? And then as a community, we're like, well, why don't you look here? And why don't you look here? And someone goes, holy crap. Like, I never would have thought of that. And all of a sudden they come back and say, hey, I got 3 speaking engagements because of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like
a get her done community where
all the other groups
talk about
cease to exist because we are actually a community of value and we are helping everybody. So jump on the chance to be a guest on the Speaker Show and Tell, so that we can coach you live and help you grow and build, or build and grow.
Let's do it. Let's make every speaker awesome.
Right?
I mean, they already are awesome. The world doesn't know it. So I love it. Well, I am so excited. I can't wait. I'm going to go look right now to see who our person is that we're going to coach next podcast. So join us. Come be involved. Awesome. Well, we'll see you guys on the flip side. Thank you so much, Sean. I can't wait.
Oh, absolutely. This is an incredible opportunity. Thanks for having me. And I am super pumped to get started.
You've been listening to Speaker Show and Tell. Eric and Sabrina have spoken on all types of stages and have easily done over 2,000 speaking engagements. They understand the strategy, the sales, and the marketing of the speaking business. Plus, they have on the pros that have done it. Pros that have gone through the same struggles as you and created massive results. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and we hope you've gotten something from it. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Speaker Show and Tell. Thanks for being here, and we'll catch you next time.